Ladies and gentlemen, in a world that constantly tells us to strive for perfection, perfect jobs, perfect relationships, perfect lives, we often overlook the quiet, unpolished beauty that lies in imperfection. Today, I want to share with you the profound beauty of imperfect connections. When we think of human connection, our minds often go to ideals, relationships without misunderstandings, friendships without conflict, families without tension. But the truth is, no bond is flawless. People stumble over words, they fail to meet expectations, and they sometimes disappoint us. And yet, it is in these cracks, in these so-called flaws, that true connection takes root. Think about it. If everyone showed us only their polished self, their curated highlight reel, could we ever feel deeply close to them? Perfection creates admiration, but imperfection creates intimacy. When someone allows us to see their vulnerabilities, their scars, their mistakes, they invite us into their humanity. And in that moment, we no longer feel alone in our own flaws. Imperfect connections teach us patience. They challenge us to listen, to forgive, to grow alongside one another. They show us that love is not about finding someone who never hurts us, but about finding someone worth forgiving. They remind us that trust is not built through perfection, but through persistence, by showing up again and again, even when things get messy. In truth, the beauty of imperfect connections lies in their authenticity. They are not rehearsed, they are not scripted, they are raw, real, and unfiltered, and that is why they last. The friendships we cherish most are not the ones where everything was easy, but the ones where we weathered storms together. The relationships we value most are not those free of struggle, but those that survived it. So instead of chasing flawless connections, let us embrace the imperfect ones. Let us cherish the awkward pauses, the clumsy apologies, the mismatched personalities, and the moments of misunderstanding. Because these are not signs of failure, they are proof of life, proof of effort, proof that we dared to love and be loved despite our human messiness. Ladies and gentlemen, the world doesn't need more perfect people trying to create perfect relationships. The world needs more people brave enough to love, even when it's complicated. Because at the end of the day, it's not perfection that makes life meaningful. It's connection. And the most profound connections are always beautifully imperfect. Imperfection creates intimacy when we talk about connection. Most of us imagine something smooth, flawless, and without conflict. We long for the perfect partner, the perfect friend, the perfect family bond where words flow effortlessly, understanding is automatic, and love never falters. Yet life, as we know it, rarely gives us such idealized bonds. Instead, it gives us people who sometimes say the wrong things, who misunderstand our intentions, who frustrate us, and who occasionally let us down. And surprisingly, this is not a weakness in connection. It is its greatest strength. Imperfection creates intimacy. Think for a moment about your closest friend or someone you deeply love. What makes that bond so special? Is it because they have never made a mistake with you, or is it because they have made mistakes, and you chose to stay, to forgive, to continue, and in doing so, grew closer? The truth is, perfection doesn't bring us together. It keeps us apart. It builds walls of distance, because perfection is intimidating. We admire it, yes, but we do not feel safe in its presence. But imperfection, that invites us in. When someone shows us their flaws, their awkwardness, their fears, their messy, unpolished sides, they are saying, "Here I am, fully human. I trust you enough to see me without my mask." And when we respond to that trust with acceptance instead of judgment, a profound bond is formed. Suddenly, the relationship is not about pretending or performing. It is about being real. In fact, perfection creates admiration, but imperfection creates belonging. We may admire those who seem flawless, but we belong with those who stumble because their humanity reflects our own. This is why relationships built on vulnerability feel so much deeper than those based only on appearances. Vulnerability requires courage, and courage breeds closeness. Think of a time you had a difficult conversation with someone you love. Maybe they confessed a mistake, or maybe they cried in front of you, or maybe you yourself admitted something you were ashamed of. Did that moment weaken the relationship? Perhaps temporarily, but more often, it created a deeper understanding. It reminded both of you that love is not earned by perfection, but by truth. Imperfect connections also teach us patience and forgiveness. When a friend forgets to call, when a spouse speaks harshly in a moment of stress, when a family member lets us down, we are faced with a choice to demand perfection or to embrace humanity. Every act of forgiveness deepens intimacy. Every moment of grace says, I see you as you are, and you are still worthy of love. And here lies the paradox. We spend so much time hiding our imperfections because we fear rejection, when in reality, those imperfections are what make connection possible. Nobody bonds over perfection. We bond over stories of struggle, over shared mistakes, over laughter that comes from awkward situations, over the relief of realizing, you too. I thought I was the only one. This is why imperfect connections are often the strongest. They are tested, they are real, and they are honest. They remind us that intimacy is not about flawless performance, but about mutual acceptance. So, instead of chasing after the illusion of perfect relationships, let us lean into imperfection. Let us be unafraid to admit when we are wrong, to apologize sincerely, to forgive generously, and to laugh at our own flaws. Because in the end, it is not the polished moments that keep us close, but the raw ones, the ones where our walls come down and our hearts come forward. Yes, imperfection creates intimacy, and that intimacy is what makes life rich, relationships meaningful, and love truly profound. Authenticity over perfection in our world today. Perfection is constantly glorified. From social media filters to carefully polished resumes, from staged family photos to curated relationship posts, we are surrounded by images of lives that appear flawless. Yet behind those filters, behind those curated versions, real life is messy, complicated, and imperfect. And while perfection might impress us, it does not sustain us. What truly sustains human connection is authenticity. Authenticity over perfection. That is where genuine relationships thrive. Let's pause and think. Have you ever been in a situation where someone looked or acted too perfect? Maybe it was a colleague who seemed to always have the right answer, or a friend who never admitted to struggling, or a partner who never showed any vulnerability. At first, it might inspire admiration. But over time, doesn't it create a sense of distance? We may find ourselves thinking, they couldn't possibly understand me. They couldn't possibly relate to my flaws. Perfection creates a pedestal, and a pedestal, by its very nature, creates separation. On the other hand, when someone chooses to show up as their authentic self, without pretense, without fear of judgment, something shifts. We feel their honesty, we sense their courage, we connect not because they are flawless, but because they are real. Authenticity is magnetic because it gives others permission to be themselves. When a person admits, I don't have it all figured out, or I made a mistake, or I'm struggling right now, it breaks down the invisible walls of perfection. Suddenly, the relationship no longer feels like a performance. It feels like a partnership. Authenticity breeds trust, and trust is the foundation of every meaningful connection. Consider the relationships that mean the most to you. Chances are they are not the ones built on perfection. They are the ones where you could laugh until you cried, where you could confess your fears without being shamed, where you could be messy, vulnerable, even broken, and still be accepted. Those are the connections that anchor us because they are based on truth, not illusion. Authenticity also deepens empathy. When we see someone living authentically, we no longer feel alone in our struggles. Their openness validates our humanity. Think about how powerful it is when a leader, teacher, or even a parent admits they don't always have the answers. It makes them relatable. It reminds us that everyone, no matter how strong or wise, is still human. And in that realization, intimacy blossoms. Perfection, on the other hand, often drives disconnection. It demands constant performance, constant proof, constant pretending. It exhausts both the person trying to uphold the facade and the people trying to live up to it. But authenticity liberates. It allows relationships to breathe. It creates space for imperfection, for mistakes, for growth. And in that space, love has room to flourish. Authenticity is not about oversharing or exposing every detail of our lives. It is about aligning what we show with who we truly are. It is about being honest, about not hiding behind masks, about choosing truth even when it feels risky. That risk is what makes authenticity so powerful. Because every time we choose authenticity, we choose connection over isolation. So let us stop chasing perfection in our relationships. Let us stop trying to impress one another with polished exteriors and flawless performances. Instead, let us dare to be authentic. Let us speak honestly, admit freely, and show our real selves, messy, vulnerable, and beautifully human. Because in the end, people don't fall in love with perfection. They fall in love with authenticity, and that is the foundation of every profound connection. Imperfect connections teach growth when we think about relationships, whether friendships, family ties, or romantic bonds. We often wish for ease, smooth communication, constant harmony, no conflict, no misunderstandings. But life doesn't work that way. Every relationship, no matter how deep, will experience friction. And while at first glance we may see conflict or imperfection as signs of weakness, the truth is this: imperfect connections are often our greatest teachers. They shape us, stretch us, and ultimately help us grow. Growth never happens in comfort zones. If every interaction we had was easy, we would never learn patience, never practice forgiveness, never discover resilience. Imperfections in our relationships provide those opportunities. They teach us to sit with discomfort, to navigate tension, to work through misunderstandings rather than running from them. And in the process, they refine us. Think of the first time you had a real argument with a close friend. It probably felt unsettling, like a threat to the relationship. Yet, if that friendship endured, you likely walked away with a deeper understanding of each other. You learned how to communicate more clearly, how to listen more attentively, or how to respect differences. That conflict wasn't a failure, it was a classroom. Imperfect connections also push us to examine ourselves. When someone challenges us, disappoints us, or reflects back our own shortcomings, it forces us to grow. Relationships are mirrors. They reveal both the best and the worst within us. A careless word from a loved one may expose our sensitivity. A disagreement may reveal our stubbornness. A partner's forgiveness may reveal our own capacity to show grace. Without these moments, we would remain unaware of our blind spots. And isn't that the point of connection? To not only share life with others, but to evolve through them. Every strained moment carries a hidden gift. The frustration of miscommunication teaches us clarity. The sting of betrayal teaches us the value of trust. The ache of forgiveness teaches us compassion. These lessons cannot be learned from perfection. They are forged in imperfection. Consider how trees grow. They do not grow straight and flawless. They twist, they bend, they scar, they carry the marks of storms that tested them. And yet, it is precisely because of those storms that they grow stronger, with deeper roots and wider branches. Human connections are no different. The storms we endure with others do not weaken the bond if we choose to learn from them. They strengthen it. Imperfect connections also prepare us for the wider world. If we expect every interaction to be perfect, we will constantly be disappointed. But when we accept imperfection as part of the process, we become more adaptable, more compassionate, and more resilient. Instead of demanding flawlessness from others, we learn to embrace them as they are flawed, evolving, and beautifully human. The key is perspective. We can view imperfection as a problem, or we can view it as an invitation to grow. Every misunderstanding, every conflict, every awkward silence is not an obstacle. It is an opportunity. the opportunity to grow in patience, the opportunity to practice humility, the opportunity to deepen love through forgiveness. So the next time a relationship feels messy, don't be so quick to label it broken. Sometimes the cracks are where the light gets in. Sometimes the struggle is the soil in which growth takes root. And sometimes the imperfect connection is the very one that teaches us how to become the best version of ourselves. Yes, imperfect connections may not be easy, but they are powerful. They challenge us, stretch us, and transform us. And that growth is what makes those connections not only profound, but unforgettable. Love is not about perfection, but persistence. So often, we imagine love as this grand, flawless experience, something effortless, filled with constant joy, and free of struggle. Movies, novels, and even social media paint a picture of love that never falters, where people always say the right words and never disappoint each other. But real love, the kind that lasts, the kind that matters, is far different. Real love is not about perfection. It is about persistence. Perfection in love is an illusion. Every human being is imperfect, and when two imperfect people come together, friction is inevitable. There will be misunderstandings, unmet expectations, and moments of pain. If we define love by the absence of these struggles, then every relationship will eventually feel like a failure. But if we define love by persistence, the willingness to keep showing up, to keep trying, to keep holding on, then we discover its true depth. Persistence is what transforms ordinary connections into extraordinary ones. It is easy to stay when things are smooth. It is easy to love when life feels light. But the real test of love is not in the sunshine, it is in the storm. When we choose to remain even when it's hard, when we choose to forgive even when we are hurt, when we choose to rebuild after something has been broken, that is where love proves its strength. Think of a couple who has been married for decades. If you ask them the secret to their bond, they rarely say it was because everything was perfect. More often, they will tell you it was because they kept trying, even when they didn't feel like it. They learned to fight fair, to apologize sincerely, to forgive fully, and to start again the next day. Their love wasn't perfect, but it was persistent. Persistence also means choosing love over pride. In conflicts, our instinct is often to withdraw, to protect ourselves, or to wait for the other person to make the first move. But persistence in love says, I will take the step. I will reach out. I will try again, even if I've been hurt before. This doesn't mean tolerating toxic behavior or abandoning boundaries. It means understanding that no real relationship can survive without the daily decision to keep investing in it. In many ways, persistence is an act of humility. It acknowledges that we will get things wrong, that our partner or friend will too, and that we will need to continuously grow together. It is the recognition that love is not a one-time promise, but a daily practice. And like all practices, it requires effort, discipline, and commitment. Persistence also creates security. When someone knows that you will not walk away at the first sign of trouble, they feel safe enough to be vulnerable. They no longer have to perform for your love, because they trust that your love will endure even through flaws and failures. This security, in turn, deepens intimacy. So, if love is not perfection but persistence, then every day becomes an opportunity. An opportunity to choose patience instead of anger. An opportunity to listen instead of defend. An opportunity to stay instead of walk away. These small, persistent choices are what create lifelong bonds. Because in the end, love is not about finding someone who never hurts you. It's about finding someone worth forgiving, worth fighting for, worth persisting with. Love doesn't require perfection. It requires the courage to stay, to try again, and to never give up on the bond that truly matters. Yes, love is not perfect, but love that persists, that is love at its most profound. The beauty lies in humanity's messiness. We live in a culture that celebrates the polished, the flawless, and the neatly packaged. Everywhere we look, We see images of perfections, smiling faces in photos, success stories in headlines, and carefully edited versions of reality. It's easy to forget that beneath every polished exterior lies something messy, real, raw humanity. And yet, it is precisely in that messiness where the true beauty of connection lies. Human beings are not meant to be perfect. We stumble over our words, we make mistakes, we carry insecurities, scars, and fears. We laugh at the wrong times, we cry when we least expect it, and when we connect with others, all of these imperfections come with us. The beauty is not in hiding these parts, but in sharing them, because when we do, we discover that others carry the same messiness too. Think about the moments you cherish most with the people you love. Are they the staged perfect ones? Or are they the ones where things didn't go as planned? Maybe it was a family dinner filled with laughter because someone burned the food. Maybe it was a road trip where you got lost but ended up making unforgettable memories. Maybe it was a late night conversation where someone cried, not because everything was okay, but because everything wasn't. These moments are messy, but they are also unforgettable because they are real. Messiness brings color to life. If everything were perfect, life would be flat, predictable, and sterile. It is the unpredictability, the flaws, and the imperfections that make each connection unique. Just as an artist's brushstrokes are never identical, our human flaws are what give our relationships texture and depth. The cracks and rough edges make the masterpiece more powerful, not less. The Japanese art of kintsugi teaches us this beautifully. When a piece of pottery breaks, instead of discarding it, it is repaired with gold, highlighting the cracks rather than hiding them. The result is something even more beautiful than before, precisely because of its flaws. Our connections are much the same. It is the cracks, the mistakes, the imperfect moments that make them not only unique but profoundly beautiful. Messiness also invites compassion. When we witness someone else struggling, fumbling, or showing vulnerability, our hearts open. We no longer see them as distant or unrelatable. We see them as human, like us. And when we dare to reveal our own imperfections, we invite the same compassion in return. This exchange of grace is the essence of intimacy. In truth, the beauty of humanity's messiness is that it frees us from the impossible burden of perfection. It says, you don't have to have it all together to be worthy of love. It reminds us that we don't need to hide our cracks to be accepted. In fact, our cracks are what make connection possible. So instead of chasing tidy, flawless relationships, let us embrace the messy ones. Let us value the awkward silences, the clumsy apologies, the unexpected laughter, and even the disagreements. Because these are not signs of brokenness. They are signs of life. They are proof that we are daring to engage fully, to love boldly, and to connect authentically. At the heart of it all, life is messy. People are messy, relationships are messy, and that's okay, because it is in that very messiness that we find the kind of beauty perfection can never give us. The beauty of being real, the beauty of being human, and the beauty of being connected despite it all. Yes, the beauty lies not in perfection, but in humanity's glorious, unpolished, and unforgettable messiness. Ladies and gentlemen, we spend so much of our lives chasing perfection. Perfect relationships, perfect conversations, perfect moments. But the truth is, perfection has never been the source of our deepest connections. It is imperfection that binds us. It is the flaws, the cracks, the awkward pauses, the clumsy apologies, the messy laughter, and the raw honesty that make our relationships real. We have seen that imperfection creates intimacy, authenticity builds trust, struggles invite growth, persistence sustains love, and messiness gives life its deepest beauty. Each imperfect connection is not a failure. It is a gift, a reminder that we are human, and that humanity itself is the bridge that brings us closer together. So, let us stop hiding behind masks. Let us stop waiting for flawless moments. Instead, let us lean into the imperfect, the vulnerable, and the real, because it is in those imperfect connections that we discover what we are all searching for: belonging, love, and meaning. perfection may impress us. But only imperfection can truly connect us. And that, my friends, is the profound beauty of being human together. Thank you